So how it works, right, is on, and I wrote a thread on this, but I get that some of my threads are quite lengthy, but how they are moving money around is you're putting money into one of their contracts on a variety of chains, whether that's Base or Arbitrum or whatever. They then are shuffling that money through the normal bridge into their contract on PulseChain, sort of following the flow of money. So if I look at their transactions on a fairly consistent basis, it's just constant bridging over 30 grand, 50 grand, 60 grand, 30 grand, 50 grand to keep up with the flow of money. So the actual liquidity that they have over all of their contracts on all of their chains at any one time is probably still only about 100 grand. But because they just spend 24/7 moving money around, they can keep up with that flow. What it means is that they'll be taking in, say, I don't know, 30 grand a day from Base. They'll whip off 25, 28 grand of that. They'll bridge it to Ethereum. Then they'll bridge it from Ethereum to PulseChain to dump into their PulseChain contract so that they can keep fulfilling orders on the other side. And one of the questions I asked of them recently was, should you not be aiming to have higher liquidity? Because if you get a run of transactions, if right now people wanted to try and use their services to buy $500,000 of PulseChain assets in the next 30 minutes, they couldn't do it. But they could do it in the span of an hour. It just takes time to move the money, right? So they can fulfill those transactions. It's quite a sort of frustratingly manual process in the background. And that's what I think what people don't really understand is they see the magic happening up front and it works really well. But in the background, they are just 24/7 rampantly moving money blockchain to blockchain to keep up with demand.
They have been raising their limits over time, though, right? Like it started out smaller limits, higher. So I would imagine if demand picked up, they would probably increase that 100 grand to 200 grand and so on and so forth. I feel they likely have some backing.
Yeah, they're the ones who have to come up with that liquidity, I guess. And a lot of these cross-chain swap protocols allow users to deposit funds into the contracts to facilitate that liquidity, and in return you're going to get some APY from the fees and etc. They at the moment don't do that and have been explicit that they will not do that until at least their contracts are verified and audited. They've sort of been pretty clear that they don't hold any user funds, and because of that, it means they are the ones fronting up with all the liquidity. So they're the ones who are rampantly having to move stuff back and forth to keep up with demand, which is fine. It's working fine. If I look just yesterday alone, in a 24-hour window, they bought in about $750,000 over the bridge. It just means that they are literally 24/7 moving money around. And if they can keep up with that, then great.
Is that something, I mean, is the plan like to automate it? Like you could see that just a contract doing this over time?
They could probably automate it more than they do at the moment. I think they would give themselves a lot more leeway if they had just more liquidity to give themselves a bit more time and buffer to achieve that.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
By the way, I want to clarify, we're talking about LibertySwap, not World Liberty Finance.
Not World Liberty Finance, no.
You haven't seen World Liberty Finance bridging to PulseChain yet, have you?
No. I think there's some speculation that they're intertwined, and it's wild speculation.
A lot of liquidity.
Yeah.
Big league.
No.
Big league.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get into that too. Like, how does it work? How does LibertySwap work? I know you did the thread on it. They're getting super big popularity.
I'll see if I can find the specific picture that sort of describes it. But I guess as I was briefly talking about before, you deposit money into contracts on one side, they send money from their contracts on the other side. There's some magic that happens in between, some off-chain magic. So there is some, that's the picture. There is some centralization risk with cross-chain swaps. It's unfortunate there's nothing much you can do about that. And it's why I've been pressing them gently to at some point verify and audit those contracts, because at least there's a tiny element of risk that at some point, worst case scenario, it's not going to happen, but worst case scenario, they're moving $2 million a day, let's say, and all of a sudden one day transactions stop fulfilling on the other side, and we're looking into it, and meanwhile sort of people keep sending money, and everything disappears. They stop fulfilling transactions, they take the $2 million or whatever that's been deposited into their base and Ethereum contracts, and they walk away. That would be really easy to do. It's probably not going to happen. They've been pretty consistently delivering, but I guess that's the risk people take in cross-chain swaps. It's not like bridging. Bridging, the PulseChain bridge in particular, has a pretty, I guess, it's pretty old contract. It's pretty well versed. The risk is relatively low that all of the bridge validators just disappear. But yeah, cross-chain swaps come with some element of user risk, which is part of the reason why having transaction limits is great. Having a $5,000 transaction limit limits the damage to an individual user. If you suddenly saw that transaction limit go to 100 grand or 200 grand, well, now the risk is higher to an individual user. I would say if you're bringing big money in, just use the bridge. Don't piss around with cross-chain swaps. I mean, you'd be there all day if you were going to anyway. You might as well just use the bridge. So
the cross-chain swaps is more for it's retail, right? It's enable people to more easily get in faster. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And these guys are, I guess, building out connections with on-ramps. ZK P2P or something that they're sort of trying to integrate into their protocol, but Gibs Finance is pretty similar in that they've sort of tried to include on-ramp as the first step, and then it sort of goes into the protocol. But yeah, it's retail. If you're whale moving money, you shouldn't be trying to move money through LibertySwap. I mean, you can. You're just going to be there all day. But if you want to move
there is a trade-off for the convenience, but the convenience is an advantage, because there is lots of retail out there, and we want them to have an easy experience. And most of them are not moving $500,000; they're moving whatever, a couple thousand. So
100%. And I mean, I've used it. It's great. It works really well. I would continue to use it if I was a retail user, probably as a first choice, just out of convenience, with the understanding that, and I guess general retail doesn't know or doesn't understand that there is a tiny element of centralization risk, but it's probably minimal. For Richard to be
how would you compare that to, let's say, a centralized exchange?
What's that? Sorry? Oh, fuck, centralized exchanges. I'd use this any day over a centralized exchange. I try to keep.
What's a centralized exchange? I have no idea.
I've been have them in other communities.
BX,
we don't have them.
Kraken, Coinbase.
Yeah. Literally, I'm I don't even know what those are. I know what a Coinbase is, but that's about it. Yeah, a couple other ones.
Yeah, I haven't touched them bar on ramp and off ramp for years.
Literally,
they are a necessary evil.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally get money on and off. If I'm not trading and I'm just trying to get money into my wallet and stuff, like, why would I don't even. It's like a 2017 thing. It's like a throwback. Sexes are like a throwback deal to me these days.
Yeah.
What is the difference between? Okay.
I was just going to say one of the on-ramp options that popped up in about May was Ramp Now, and that's the one that Hex Scout is pretty consistently using and brought to the ecosystem. So props to them. They sort of direct bank to PulseChain effectively. No CEX, no KYC. I think no KYC, but limited to some geographical regions, and they definitely have transaction limits. And I can't remember what their fees are like, but it's an option. But if you're trying to
not use for the US now, I feel like
I don't think so.
Yeah, okay.
I don't think so. They're based in Poland, I think. So there's probably some challenges getting US user access.
So I was going to ask on Gibs Finance, what is the difference between Gibs and LibertySwap?
Gibs is cool. So Gibs is, for the most part, just uses the native bridge. It's just a different front end for the native bridge. But in both directions, I think they give you the opportunity to use or to, I guess, increase your privacy a little bit by setting a different destination address. And whilst that destination address is sort of in the depths of the transaction data, it's not obvious. You can pull it out if you know what you're looking for, but if you wanted a pseudo privacy way to use the normal bridge, then that's where Gibs really shines in both directions. They also more relevant when you're bridging out, but they will basically do the claim function for you. So you pay them a small fee up front, and it pays whoever's running that function on the other end to do the claim function. So it's just a one-click, you bridge out, the money's there. There's no sort of two-step process, and they'll also unwrap ETH as part of that process as well, which is pretty cool.
What about the fee for that service compared to just bridging yourself? What's the difference?
There's a slight increase. It depends on gas fees, because you're basically paying for the gas fee on the other end to some degree. So it depends on the gas fee environment as to what that fee is. You're still just paying the 0.3% bridge out fee, but you're also paying a gas fee on top of that. It might work out to 0.5% or 1% depending on the gas environment. So it will be more expensive, but you don't have to do the manual claim transaction, which you're going to have to pay gas fees for anyway.
What about
go ahead, Vess.
What about other ways to get on? I know Power City has PulseX, I believe.
Yeah, PulseX swap. Yep. Similar-ish concept, I guess, to LibertySwap, but PulseX swap, I think, routes a lot of it through Change Now, so their limits are quite low. I mean, you can get onto PulseChain by Change Now.
Rubik's or something like that.
Yes. So it's one way of getting on, and again, it's like a lot of these cross-chain swaps are handy because they sort of totally delink the transactions on both ends. If you look at the transaction data on either end of a transaction, you can't tell which wallet it goes to. So if you want to set a different destination wallet, great, that's a really good option for moving money around. If you're sort of particularly concerned about privacy. But yeah, I think
it adds privacy.
Yeah, it adds privacy. And I think if you were looking to add privacy, LibertySwap's handy, PulseX is handy, Gibs is handy. All of these have an element of additional privacy over just the standard bridge. Now, none of them are perfect, right? Gibs is great, but it's not perfect. I've had transactions that I've made in the past that just never delivered, and I had to manually contact the guy on Telegram to say, hey, where's my money? And he's, oh yeah, I did. There was an issue with one of the contracts because he is adding an extra contract basically at the end that handles the claim functions.
So there's some centralization with Gibs too on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 90% of what you're using is just the native bridge, but if you are using the sort of automated delivery feature, and if you're using the sort of unwrap ETH, if you're bridging out ETH, then there's an extra contract in the mix. And so you're hoping that the guy who wrote and deployed the contract is done it right. And again, doesn't run away with your money. You can use Gibs just as a straight front end for the bridge, and it won't add any extra contract into the mix if you really wanted to.
So it's kind of like bridge front end with optional privacy.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Fast.
What about bridging from non-EVM chains like Solana type thing?
Yeah, I guess that's where cross-chain swaps are gonna really come into their own, because at the moment that's a pretty big headache, and that sounds like that is on the cards for LibertySwap in the near future.
I think that's a pretty that'd be a pretty big service. I know PortalX Swap has from Solana right now, but it's hard to do any sort of volume more than like $500. If people could move $10,000 from Solana, I think that'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the more options we have, the better to a degree, as long as all of those options are good.